ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been over 1 year of me doing YouTube. And my first video was What If Marvel Never Sold Their Rights, as you see before you with this current thumbnail. The video right now has 1K views by the time of recording this video, and I released it a year ago. Now, there has been other versions of this, like from the Black Lion, whose goal was to make this as most realistic as possible, or JT Videos, whose goal was just to make a fun, magnificent cinematic universe. However, I wanted to go the more realistic route. I did sort of try to do both for my first video, but I'm just going to make this the most realistic version of What If Marvel Never Sold Their Rights, in my opinion. Now, there's no real way to actually know what it would actually be like. It all depends on who runs it. So this is assuming Marvel has that good structure that they had with the current MCU, or at least the Infinity Saga. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video. We're not going to focus on the Avengers, instead we're going to focus on the X-Men. And the name of the saga is going to be the Phoenix Saga. So the first movie in this cinematic universe is going to be Wolverine. Now, it can be many titles, honestly. It can be Wolverine Weapon X, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Marvel Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine. But I'm just going to call it Wolverine. But it's essentially going to be the exact same movie we've had, just better and without Deadpool. That's basically what it will be like, just a better version. There will be no X-Men connections, only Wolverine, and maybe also Gambit. I'll also have Gambit a part of the movie as well. And the main villains will indeed be Sabretooth and Stryker. So as for Captain America, I know a lot of people really like to put Captain America Easter eggs or a part of the movie if they do this. The only problem here is that I actually don't have any Captain America movie set up. I know it would make sense, but I just don't have any plans for him doing the structure. So, yeah, it's definitely a problem, but it's more of a minor one. So there won't be any Captain America cameo or any of that. Maybe an Easter egg, but nothing major as far as we know. The next movie on here is the Fantastic Four. Now, you could put the Incredible Hulk here, but I want to save the Hulk movie later. So right now, it's just the Fantastic Four. I wanted to use Annihilus as the main villain, but while I was going through the story, I decided to go with Mole Man for this movie because he just made a little bit more sense than Annihilus. Well, Annihilus is going to come later, but Mole Man will be the main villain of this movie. Next up is Spider-Man. So I actually have an entire story, an entire pitch for a Spider-Man movie, and just telling it in this video wouldn't do it justice. So it might get its own video, but definitely not anytime soon, as I have a very busy schedule for my YouTube, and especially since I'm doing soccer and school's coming back up, so it's definitely going to be a while before I can do a video like that. But to get some of the main plot points in this video, Spider-Man will be played by Andrew Garfield, and he'll get bit by the radioactive spider at Oscorp. The main villain of the movie will be Doc Ock, who will pretty much be trying to blow up the Oscorp building for revenge against Norman. Gwen Stacy will be the love interest, and they do end up dating in the movie. Harry Osborn will be Peter's best friend, and in the movie, Harry will be dating MJ. So this kind of gets the whole friend group started. So some more details to explain here. Doc Ock will essentially be said to be one of the smartest people in the world, and he's a nuclear scientist, and he works for Norman Osborn. However, there's like a riots, or not riots, but protests in the city against nuclear research at Oscorp. So Norman shuts down the project. He gets in an argument with Otto. Otto quits, taking his mechanical arms with him. He does his nuclear research under his house in his basement. Then an explosion happens and that caused his wife Rosie to die, and his mechanical arms are just stuck on his back, and he also goes crazy, which is why he wants to destroy Oscorp for revenge against Norman. And so Spider-Man tries to stop him throughout the movie, rather it's stopping him robbing a bank from getting the funding, or just trying to stop Doc Ock. So they eventually he does stop him, and Doc Ock is then sent to the Ravencroft Institute. However, the consequence of the climax is that Gwen Stacy's father, Captain John Stacy, unfortunately dies by a building crashing onto him during the climax. I also want to mention that Peter's parents are connected to S.H.I.E.L.D., and maybe the post-credit scene can have something to do with them, but I'm not really sure. The next movie is The Hulk. And in this movie, it's an origin movie with some similarities from the Incredible Hulk film. So it's basically that movie, The Incredible Hulk, just with origin elements from the Hulk movie. The post-credit scene in this movie will be about Wolverine and S.H.I.E.L.D. about to go after Hulk, which will set up Wolverine, Rampage of the Hulk, title inspired by JT Video's Thor, Rampage of the Hulk. So this movie is the sequel to Wolverine, and it'll be about Wolverine fighting Hulk because he joined S.H.I.E.L.D. The post-credit scene, I didn't mention this earlier, but the post-credit scene is Wolverine joining S.H.I.E.L.D. And here, his mission is to hunt down the Hulk and try and stop him. The main villain of the movie will be the Wendigo, and the climax will take place at New York, which will actually have Spider-Man being involved in the movie. And so it's Wolverine, Spider-Man, Hulk teaming up to stop the Wendigo. And the cool thing about this is that it actually sets up Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Hulk to be the main trio of this first saga for this version of the MCU. And the final movie of Phase 1 is X-Men. So this is pretty much going to be like the 2000s movie, except for Storm won't be in the X-Men. It will actually be the original X-Men lineup from the comics. And it starts with Wolverine, who recently left S.H.I.E.L.D. after the events of Wolverine Rampage of the Hulk, and meets Rogue. They join the X-Men and fights the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants will pretty much be the same with added members, but some of the more important added members is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Starting off Phase 2 is Wolverine and the Silver Samurai, which will be about the same movie as the Wolverine, although the beginning will be slightly different since he hasn't left the X-Men and is still on the team. So he goes to Japan, deals with all the conflict with the Silver Samurai, and it's pretty much the same movie we got in real life. Then we have is The Amazing Spider-Man, which will be the sequel to the first Spider-Man movie. And this movie, I don't really have a full-on story. Well, I do, but not as well written as the Doc Ock movie because it's not really much written. But basically, the main villains of the movie will be Vulture, Electro, Shocker, and the Tinkerer, who's selling weapons to criminals. So yeah, it's like Spider-Man Homecoming, and it is inspired off of one of the movie ideas for Spider-Man from the Black Lions video, from the third movie, I believe. Next up we have is The Incredible Hulk. Now this movie will be the sequel to the first Hulk movie, and will be about Hulk on the run from the U.S. military and S.H.I.E.L.D. and pretty much just trying to go and with his own business. Some people loves the Hulk because they believe he's a hero, but other people still think he's a monster. The main villain of the movie will be the leader, and it's about Bruce Banner trying to face down the leader because it's the battle for the brains, but the battle for the strength is between Hulk and General Ross, aka Red Hulk. Then we have Fantastic Four Volume 2. This movie is inspired off of a movie pitch from JT Videos where the Fantastic Four goes into space, sees the Nova Corps, and they even fight the Kree and Ronan the Accuser. I'm not exactly sure how this movie will go 100%, but the purpose of this movie is for the Fantastic Four to be aware of aliens like the Kree, But also be aware of the Skrulls, which will set up a project I'll talk about soon. But first, we have to talk about X-Men United, which will pretty much be a sequel to the first movie. It'll actually be the same movie, just about Storm, although Storm will be introduced in this movie, and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver will join the X-Men in this movie. So other than that, it's pretty much the same movie. Also, I'll have Stryker, who will be the main villain of this movie, be a Skrull. We can find out either in a post-credit scene, or they kill him and we just see a Skrull form, which will set up Secret Invasion. Now, the purpose of this movie is to show you who's a Skrull and who's not a Skrull. I would also have some Avengers show up in this movie. Like, I'll have Ant-Man, Black Widow, and Hawkeye all have a role in this movie, which they can have, like, small cameos in, like, Wolverine Rampage of the Hulk, since Wolverine's a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that movie, and all these characters are part of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this movie. But this will be, like, their full-on role. Some of them can actually be Skrull. Like Black Widow, I would say, would be a Skrull. Maybe some of the X-Men, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Whoever you think should be a Skrull in the comments, I would love a comment, like, explaining who's a Skrull, even though you don't exactly know the full length of the events previous. But if you can just, like, give me a good understanding on who should be a Skrull and who shouldn't be a Skrull, I would love that, but you don't have to. But it's basically a Secret Invasion movie. Not really an Avengers movie, but basically an Avengers movie. So, yeah. Next up is Deadpool, which will be the same movie we got in real life, except for more references to the MCU. And since this universe isn't broken or anything, it's actually perfectly fine, and there won't be any fourth wall breaks about the messy structure or anything about the Fox X-Men universe, because it's all in the MCU. Next up is Wolverine X-23, which will be like Logan, except for it won't be based off of the Old Man Logan storyline. And he'll be young, and it will take place sort of in modern day, or at least close to modern day within the MCU. And the whole purpose of this movie is to introduce X-23, and it'll be the fourth Wolverine movie. So Wolverine will actually get 4 movies, just like how Iron Man almost got 4 movies in the real life MCU, except for this time, it actually happens. So next up is Planet Hulk. Now, in this movie, Hulk is actually stranded on a battle-like world after the events of Secret Invasion, and the main villain of this movie is the Grand Master, who wants him to fight all these beasts and treat him as like a slave. But he eventually breaks out of this movie. It can take place like 2 years. Like, there can be just throughout the movie just showing you the 2 years he's on the planet. Then we have Thor, a movie actually exactly the same as the real life MCU movie. Different post-credit scenes probably, but it's pretty much a movie just introducing Thor. Now, the best part of this is that Thor, Odin, all of that, they have a connection to the Phoenix Force in the comics, so you can definitely play a part of that in the MCU, or this version of the MCU at least. Then we have Fantastic Four Volume 3. This movie will complete the Fantastic Four trilogy, and the main villain will be Doctor Doom, as the Fantastic Four goes to Latveria to face Doctor Doom, who's pretty much threatening to, I wouldn't say conquer the world, but I would definitely say cause some problems within this world. Or, not this world, I'm sorry. That world. So they face Doctor Doom, and they even lose the Baxter building in this movie. I'm still keeping that the superhero loses something in their third movie. Wolverine lost his adamantium claws, which he eventually gets them back in the second X-Men movie. And how Hulk pretty much lost his wife, I guess, because Planet Hulk takes place on space. We'll have that World War Hulk set up. It won't be leading to World War Hulk, but he will have a wife in that movie and pretty much loses her at the end of that movie. And the child, although he can actually secretly be alive and be Scar. But back to Fantastic Four. So in that movie, they lose the Baxter Building. Next up we have is Iron Man. So this would be the exact same movie we got in real life, although maybe a different casting for Rhodey, but that's it. And then we have the Spectacular Spider-Man. So this will be the third movie of this version of the Spider-Man trilogy in this version of the MCU. The main villain of this movie will be none other than Green Goblin, whose goal is pretty much get revenge on Wilson Fisk for trying to destroy his company, or not destroy it, but trying to control his company. He'll also try and become the new crime lord of New York City, even going as far as to team up with the Enforcers, who were former members of Kingpin's gang, but Green Goblin now kind of runs the Enforcers now. And it's in this movie where Gwen Stacy unfortunately dies. Then we have Black Panther. Now, I would say Black Panther would have a role in the Secret Invasion movie, and that's the movie where his father dies, causing King T'Challa to become the new ruler of Wakanda. And this movie can be almost exactly the same as the one we got in real life, which leads us to X-Men Dark Phoenix. This movie pretty much is where Spider-Man gets the Venom symbiote, Hulk comes back to Earth, they all fight the Dark Phoenix, Fantastic Four, teaming up with people like Wolverine and Iron Man. It's just a really cool movie. It will be crazy. It'll be like the better version of Dark Phoenix, and it's just like the Infinity War. I can't really describe it, so this could actually deserve a whole not movie, but video on its own. Next up is Deadpool X-Force. This movie will pretty much be the exact same movie, except the post-credit scene will be different. Deadpool won't time travel or multiverse hop in the post-credit scene because I'm not setting up the multiverse saga for the next saga. Now, if this was the Infinity Saga and Deadpool 2 would have Wolverine have a time travel device, it would work really well for the plot of Endgame, but it just doesn't work for this first saga and for the next saga. So the post-credit scene would be different. Then we have Captain Marvel. This movie will be very similar to the Captain Marvel movie we got in real life. It'll pretty much be the origin of the Kree on like how we saw them in Fantastic Four Volume 2 and the Secret Invasion movie, and just shows you why they were pretty much at war, plus like why the Skrulls are secretly invading Earth. It shows you all of those details in this movie. Then we have is X-Men The Last Stand. So X-Men The Last Stand will pretty much be a lot like Avengers Endgame. So this movie will kind of be like 6 months after the events of the first movie. Dark Phoenix is just destroying the world. So the X-Men wants to team back up together to stop this threat. And at the climax of this final battle, we have is the X-Men, of course, Wolverine and the X-Men, plus the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And then we have is Spider-Man with the symbiote suit. He still has it in this movie. Then there, of course, is Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, and Black Widow. I would also have Wolverine die and Jean die as well because she's Dark Phoenix, so she dies. With Wolverine sacrificing himself. They both sacrificed themselves to stop the Phoenix Force. And also a side note here, Magneto dies in X-Men Dark Phoenix. Sort of like how Loki died in Avengers Infinity War. And that's the complete the complete saga for the Phoenix Saga. Now, if you're wondering how about Spider-Man Far From Home, in a world where the MCU has all the rights, they wouldn't be rushed to make any other movie and put it with Phase 3, so it'll actually be part of the next saga, Phase 4. So I'll explain that when I talk about the Infinity Saga, because that's what the next saga would be. But thank you guys for watching this video, and please leave a like if you like this video. Share it to anybody you think would enjoy this video. I want this video to surpass my first video in views. I've worked really hard on this video. It took me so long to make it, so I would really appreciate it if you would like help get the views up and just put it on the algorithm. So guys, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to. More things are coming on this channel. Bye.